Changing conditions, welcome us to Hungary for round 2 of the T6TC Championship. The Hungaroring playing host to what should hopefully be a thrilling instalment in what is looking like a fantastic season to kick off 2025 here inside the T6 world of motorsport. Great to have your company here on the T6 YouTube channel. Myself, Darragh Thacker, taking you through the action this evening. I'm on my lonesome, but you guys in the chat, I'm sure, keeping me company this evening. Good evening to Anthony, just seen you pop your head up in the chat. Great to have everybody along. Hopefully going to be a fantastic race here. Of course, we started a couple of weeks ago at Monza, which was a thrilling way to kick off this season, and it has given us a couple of championship standings to look at as we head into round number 2. Luke Mitchell leads the way, not by a long way though. Daniel Hurlock and Alessandro Cappi are right there with him. Chris Grevitt and Callum Wilson alongside Kappa on 30 points. Top 5 in the championship, split by 4 points. You don't see that particularly often in a race series, but that's why we love this championship so much. Jordan Osborne, Vlad Tokarev, and then Alexa on the top 8 with Anton Temenga and Bruno Rhino inside the top 10, looking to move their way forward. Realistically though, we are going to be focusing a lot on that top 5 in this race. Luke Mitchell, of course, such a great asset to himself last season after we were in the first series of the T6 Touring Championship. Daniel Hurlock in P2, looking to try and upset some of those that were here last season. He new face for this season. Kappa, Grevitt, Wilson. It's going to be an exciting one all the same. But the Hungaroring playing host for us tonight. A tricky little circuit, of course, famously used in Formula 1, has been used for many decades now. It's 2.7 mile in length, 4.38 kilometers to use new money in that respect. Chris Grevitt with the track record for the time being, 149.9. We'll see how long that will stand for. We can have a couple of corners to pick out. Nigel Mansell at turn 4, Felipe Massa famously knocking himself out of that corner about 15 years ago. Hopefully none of the same here tonight. The chicane can get tricky at turn 6 and 7. You can see a couple of overtakes if you're brave. Let's see if anybody is able to do that tonight. John Lacey at turn 11, really fast blowing right-handed, difficult to go side by side. It could set you up for turn 12, and then you could have a go at the final corner, or at least set yourself up for a run towards turn number 1, which is probably going to be the best overtaking opportunity on the lap. I said changing conditions. Here they are. Rain in both race 1 and race 2, but it's not going to stay for very long. Really difficult for drivers to be able to judge the right conditions. Nice and warm though, 23, 24 degrees, which is far nicer than it is where I am, and I'm sure where most of the drivers are here this evening. A little bit of rain falling though as they are in their qualifying session now. As it stands, Tokarev leads the way, 149.233 ahead of Wilson and Grevitt. I know we ran through the top 10 in the standings. If you'd like to see the rest of the standings and have everybody's name and numbers written down in front of you, you can click on the link that Rich has very kindly put in the chat for you. That should lead you straight to the standings, and you can have a look for some of your favourites and see where they are after the opening round of the championship. My juvenile maths will be attempting to keep you guys up to date, particularly with those at the front of the field and how they are going this evening. Split it by just those 4 points really does set us up beautifully, and if we can kind of get that consistency in terms of tightness in the championship standings week after week, we're going to be finding ourselves coming towards the end of the season with one of the championships for the ages. Fantastic that we have so many drivers involved, 26 at the moment in this qualifying session from all parts of the world, from all walks of life. Really is great to have this kind of community that has been built up in T6. And to have so many drivers who are willing to get going on a Sunday evening, just shy of 8 p.m. here in the UK, just shy of 9 p.m. in the US. I mean, in Central Europe. US, it's more like just about 3 p.m. on the East Coast. I think it's just about 12 o'clock on the West Coast. So I don't know how many Americans we've got. I don't believe we have too many. I know we have a Canadian in the form of Riley Koenig. So there's definitely a couple of those drivers from North America, but we have drivers from North America, from Europe, from South America, from Africa as well. Really is a fantastic series, and one that we have been treated to at the start of this season. Last 2 weeks, the opening rounds in both the T6 TC Championship and of course the 992 GT3 Championship really was a big success in the opening couple of weeks. Hopefully we're going to get more of the same here this evening. Fraser Hart on a qualifying lap. Quite the right line though as he runs his way through turn number 12. go up towards the final couple of corners now in the number 13 car, and again, wide there. That's not really going to be pleasing him. And I'm sure not quite the right line to approach that corner with. Hart make his way around the final corner now, though, and run up to the line in his Ford. Let's see what the time is going to be for him. He was competitive last week before he disconnected from the session at Sebring. Fraser Hart, not going to be a particularly competitive lap, 10 seconds down. That's going to be Schlaber, I believe, 11 seconds down. They're going to need to go again if they want to get another lap time on the board. Drivers have to be on their final laps now, otherwise they're going to be finding themselves done in this session, and with only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 not in the pit lane, there's only 5 that could be improving. Koenig and Zerves, neither of them improving on this lap through the opening couple of sectors. Looks like they're going to be coming into the pit lane. Same can be said for Raider Halal. But here is Riley Koenig across the line. Let's see if he's able to get himself up ahead of any of the drivers around him. He's P8 for the time being. P8 is where he is going to stay. David Zowes is in the box, which now leaves us with just 3 cars back, able to set a lap time. Raider Halal is one of them, along with Barthay. Well, actually, Barthay's come out late, so he won't be able to set a lap time. Koenig's not going to be able to go again, I don't think, unless he's miraculously going to improve on the final lap. And then, of course, we've got Chris Grevitt up inside our top 3. Raider Halal going wide, though, at turn 13. Not the right line. He will not be improving on this lap time, staying where he is and having to start right down through somewhere in the mid-pack. That's going to require quite some comeback drive in the opening race if he wants to get himself involved in the reverse grid, which will be, of course, anywhere between the top 6 reversed the top 12 reverse, so definitely an interesting one that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Just waiting for Raider to come back to the pit lane. Everybody else is in the box. Vlad Tokarev, I don't know what he's doing. Is he trying to do a burnout? Nobody knows, but he's going to get pole position and going to get the extra point for that. That's absolutely not a bad thing for him to be able to do. If we have a look at the driver standings overall, Tokarev comes into this race 7th at 16 points back. He had a couple of points deducted, I believe, last week. Or added, I should say. Either way. No, deducted. I was right. 2 points deducted last week. But here is the results from qualifying. Vlad Tokarev will be on pole ahead of Callum Wilson and Chris Grevitt. Alessandro Capra and Luke Mitchell 4th and 5th, with Carlo Messina, Bruno Reno, Riley Koenig, David Zowes and Anton Tomenga making up the top 10. We will go through the grid when we are on to the starting sequence. Fabien Michelon will start 11th ahead of Roman Barthez and Daniel Herlock, of course, championship contender, starting from 13th only. Jordan Osborne and Alan Axon in the final point scoring position for the time being is 15th. Yaroslav Fides and Michael Clough, Christian Diaz-Omil, Raider Halal and Nick Lowe, a little bit lower down the field if you'll excuse the pun, in P20, with Francesco Caraveo, Simon Trebek, Emmanuel Bibiloni, Willem Westerhoff and Fraser Hart, along with Basti Schrein, or Schrar, I should say, rounding out row number 13 and the 26 cars that we have on the grid. Like I just said, we will go back through the grid, which will basically be exactly what we've gone through in a minute or two's time, but we will wait. We'll come back to that. We'll go into it in a little bit more detail at that point. Of course, before we get too far into this race, we should really thank the sponsors who are making these races possible and making some of the fantastic opportunities that the drivers have possible as well. Phoenix Sim Racing and, of course, Demon Tweaks. We really thank them for everything they do, and they really are some fantastic organisations that we are really, really pleased to have behind us here at T6, and we do thank them for all of the support that they give us, and look forward to working with them throughout the rest of the season. Another couple of people in the chat. Hello, good evening, welcome in to the T6 Motorsport YouTube channel. Nice to see a few of you in here tonight. Putting off any other Sunday evening plans you may have to join us tonight. I know I've had to cancel many a plan. Rich holding me hostage to do these broadcasts, but it's all right. At least I'm not in danger. Don't you worry, guys. Drivers coming out though for a bit of a warm-up session. There was a slight break between the sessions, but they can now have a minute or two to make sure they are in the rhythm. And rhythm is difficult to get into at this circuit, particularly with changeable conditions. You never really know how the track's going to feel, and with rain coming in the race, leaving in the same race as well. there's quite a lot of room for drivers to not necessarily play around with the pace and play around with the lines, but they're going to have to, change their driving style lap after lap to adapt to the conditions as they find them. Will be very easy to get things wrong, and also get things right depending on how they see the track conditions. And for the race leader, yeah, they're leading the race, but difficult to judge as they are going to be the first ones meeting the conditions at every single corner. If you're a driver behind, you can maybe wait it out a little bit more and see maybe where the best lines are going to be. If you're the driver in the lead, you are the one with the feet in the fire. As we see the 25 and the 14 have a little bit of a battle on the outlap for this warm-up session. And nice to see that they're having a bit of a go with each other. Always nice that drivers get themselves involved in a warm-up session. We don't always see it happen, but I think it's fair to say in these kind of conditions, you kind of really want to get a sense of how it's going to run throughout this race. A lot of drivers, a lot of talent here tonight on show as well. Former champions in T6, a lot of former race winners as well. And some very well-known faces, or increasingly well-known faces, particularly in the rFactor 2 community. Of course, rFactor 2, if you couldn't guess by those advertising hoardings. The sim that we're on here tonight and in T6 now. Really great to be able to be on rFactor 2. It's a simulator that we see so many drivers take up these days. It means that we've got some big grids, nice big grids, to go racing here this season. Getting bigger and bigger every single season here at T6. And it's always great to see that we have the ever-increasing influx of drivers coming in after every completed series. Very much helps to have the support of our sponsors across the seasons. I know that Phoenix Sim Racing particularly supporting us last season in the T6 Touring Championship at the back end of 2024. Back again the start of this year, and bringing on Demon Tweaks as well really shows the fantastic nature of this series. And particularly with the fact that we have been a recommended community by Motorsport UK Esport, means that there is always that support behind this series. I've just had a quick double check to make sure I was saying that, I wasn't actually incorrectly stating that, and in fact I was right, and I could see Rich's name near the top in all of the names in the server of the Motorsports UK Esports, which is always great to see Rich getting himself some good roles, which he deserves for all the hard work that he does. He's not paying me to say this, trust me. And, he can even put himself into uncomfortable positions to make sure that he is here monitoring the race. And he does the absolute best job for all the drivers on the circuit to get this series to where it is today. Also, great job by so many of the admins who do a lot of the work behind the scenes. They are able to do so much for this league that I certainly couldn't. I just speak and I waffle around for a good hour or so in the hope that you guys haven't muted the broadcast. They're just watching the cars go around without any sound. But we are going to get in towards the race. Oh, here we go. We're getting onto the grid for the start of race number 1. We will get a full formation lap. It's caught me out a couple of times in the past. No such thing in 2025. I'm a learned man. I know what I'm doing somewhat now, and I am going to avoid making myself look as much of a fool as I have before. But as we get ourselves off the line, we can run you through that grid that will see us get racing here at the Hungaroring first time this season. Vlad Tokarev will lead us to green ahead of Callum Wilson. Alongside him on the front row, Chris Grevitt and Alessandro Cappa will make up row number 2. The Unlimited Esports and the Mixed Esports car will be mixed wheels Esports car, I should say, together. Luke Mitchell and Carlo Messina make up row number 3 ahead of Bruno Rhino and Reini Koenig as the Vauxhall looks to go from the back end of row 4. David Zerwes and Anton Temenga make up row number 5 with Fabian Michelon and Roman Barthez 11th and 12th to get themselves off the line. Final points paying positions, if things were to stay as they are from the race start, which is absolutely not going to happen. Daniel Hurlock, Jordan Osborne and Alan Axon inside that top 15. It'll be Yaroslav Fides alongside on row 8. Michael Clough and Christian Diaz-Omil are 17th and 18th to make up row 9, with Reda Uhalal and Nick Lowe 19th and 20th They round out row number 10. Still more cars, and we love to see more cars on the grid, with Francesco Caraveo, Simon Trebek, Emmanuel Bibiloni, and Willem Westerhoff inside our top 24. The final row of the grid, Fraser Hart, Asti Schrar. Let's see what they can do from the rear of the field, maybe to get themselves into some points, maybe if they're lucky, into that reverse grid as well. That's going to be a tough task for them. However, tonight, when they get back on the grid, we'll have 25 minutes on the clock, and we'll be able to get racing here at a historic circuit that in real life is seeing some developments in recent years. The pit wall getting a bit of a redevelopment, along with a lot of the paddock buildings as well. Great to see that some of these circuits are getting a little bit more support, a little bit more funding as well, to make them even better venues for racing than they already are, and clearly a good venue for racing because on the calendar for this T6 Touring Championship. And the final corner that Tokarev will bring them, and he will line up onto the grid as rain starts to fall on the circuit. That, oh my goodness me, Anton Temenga, Jordan Osborne, Michael Clough and Simon Trebek are on wets. Everyone else is on slicks. That's going to cause a little bit of chaos off the start, that's fair to say, but it means that we're going to get a really good comparison between some of the tyres, hopefully if they all stay out as they are, to get a good judgment on how they will run. Everybody just about lining up though onto the grid. 25 minutes worth of racing here at the Hungaroring. When will we see that the light sequence begin? Not everybody's in their boxes. The cars start to use their window wipers as rain starts to fall. Lights are coming on though here at the Hungaroring. Round 2 of the season is go, and it's a good enough start I think from Tokarev to get off the line ahead of Callum Wilson and Chris Gravitt. Wilson on that outside line, a little bit slippery as it may be Alessandro Cappa trying to look for a move. In fact, Tokarev has got a great run into turn 1. He'll be able to cover off the fast starting Callum Wilson unless Wilson can slip up the inside. No such joy as they make the way into turn 1. 3 into 1, not going to go, and around the outside Gravitt's going to get forced off of the track. Inside line working nicely for Wilson in the end, but the contact helping out no end, I'm sure. Alessandro Cappa getting himself inside the top 3 early on in this race. Herlock from 13th to 8th, important start for him. The driver coming into this race second in the championship. There's also good moves from Michael Clough and from Raider Uhalal further back in the pack. Shrari made a couple of positions off the line and got back right to the rear of the field once again as cars fan out wide off the road through turn number 3. Difficult to pick your point of turning at turn number 4 in these wet conditions, but the front guys doing it perfectly and single filing out as well. They'll make their way through turn 5 and into which the chicane for the first time, but an important start for Tokarev. Daniel Herlock as well getting the good launch that he so required, and he's still looking on the back of the top 6 maybe. Appa then working his way through that chicane, bouncing over a couple of the curves. They can be quite aggressive here. We're still waving green flags, I think, just by now, but at least the drivers know that there's no kind of hazard around them on the road. Kappa trying to get a bit of an overlap on Callum Wilson, and doing so around the outside at turn number 10. This is bold and brave inside at LOC, and he's going to get himself into P2, 4th to 2nd. A fantastic opening lap for him, not quite as good as Daniel Herlock's though. He's up 6 places after getting through on Rhino. On Rhino, I should say, as he's up to the top 7. Chris Gravitt looking for a move after losing out in the opening corner. But he's not going to be able to find his way past Wilson. Both Wilson and Gravitt demoted on the opening lap by Alessandro Cappa. They're both receiving the same treatment, you could say. As Gravitt dives his way into the final corner. 23 minutes on the clock then as they round the end of the opening lap. First lap time there, of course they will improve on the lap time, but a 2:07 suggests to me that we're likely to get 13 laps in this race. Unlikely to be able to shorten it, well, extend it to 14, even if they are setting 2-minute lap times here. It would need to be somewhat around that 1:55 mark, or actually 1:54 to make it a 14-lap race. As Gravitt goes deep, he's followed there by Callum Wilson, and Luke Mitchell says, "Thank you very much, gents." Big little pieces. Finds himself inside that top group. Yellow flag, I'm not too sure who that is. I'm trying to open the track map to see if I can find out. But clearly not a good start for a couple of guys further back. Could be Anton Temenga. He's had to tow back to pit lane. the Dutch driver, really, with what he wanted to see. Not a good way to open his account this evening. And it's fair to say a bit of a tricky opening race for him. P9 in the championship coming into it, only the 10 points that he was able to achieve there. Anton Semenga right towards the rear of the field. He has DNF'd in this session. Roman Barthez looking for a couple of moves as he's right on the back of Michelin and Alan Axon, who's had a very good start himself. Axon getting himself up the order. Very kindly sent me the weather earlier. Thanks, Alan, for that again. Giving you a bit of a preview of what we're about to see this evening. Oh, and Barthez, a little bit of contact as they work their way through John Lacey. And in towards turn 12. Important overtaking opportunity on the racetrack here. Nothing that can be done by Barthez. Wilson still trying to scrap away. Herlock now overtaking him. Callum Wilson started second. Herlock started 13th. And by the end of lap 2, they've swapped positions. Incredible really to see how they have swapped around so early on in this race. Really shows the difference of fortunes for the two of them. As they run towards the opening turn. Willem Westerhoff towards the rear of the field, trying to overtake Jordan Osborne. Really frantic start here at the Hungaroring. So much for the drivers to have to consider and think about. It is not easy to be able to go side by side on parts of the circuit. Callum Wilson's going to realise he can't get through on Herlock unless he makes a bit of a dive to the inside. He does make a dive. It's not going to work out for him behind. Messina goes deep. Renault goes through as well. Does he just about? Bruno around the outside of turn 3. Just got to stick it in there for, you know, as much commitment as he possibly can. Goes wide and off the road. Loses out towards, loses out to Messina. He's got to be careful because Koenig is right there behind him. And could very easily get involved in this battle. And getting himself a position or two if he is on the aggressive foot. I think it's gone in this race already. Really frantic launch here at the Hungaroring. Drivers showing off what they can do in wet conditions. Conditions that are often tricky, often ones that challenge drivers, that make champions in these kind of series. We're seeing that form tonight. Alan Axon trying to fight for his position. Around the outside he goes at turn number 9. He's fighting with David Zervas as they run their way through 10 now, into John Lacey at 11. Then they'll be going into turn 12. We've got Zervas, we've got Michelin in here as well. And watch out because Diaz Emil is lurking around. Will happily pick up a spot or two if he can, if some of these guys start to come together. Axon though holding himself inside the top 10, exactly what he needs to do really to pick up some decent points tonight. Bruno Renault going wide again. A few excursions off the road so far in this lap alone actually. To make sure that he is not dropping too far off the back, keeping himself very much in contention. As we have the likes of Basti, Schrein. I'm going to get past this. It's not Schrein, it's Schrar, isn't it? As Basti looks to try and keep himself inside the top 19. Got to be careful because Fraser Hart's on his tail. Move. Schrar, definitely a driver that we can see move up the order. I was looking to see if we've got much information of him. We sadly don't. But he'll be looking to get himself towards the points, which is exactly what Barthez is fighting over currently with Reda Halal, the Moroccan driver. Such a great asset to the continent of Africa in this series, trying to keep himself inside the points with a citrus themed car. Chris Grevitt looking for a move as well. And Alessandro Cappa not working out in towards turn 6 and 7 at that chicane. Tricky to really make a move stick down there. And he's really showing how it is difficult to stick right behind a car. Alessandro Cappa dropping off the back of Tokarov, showing that maybe holding up Chris Grevitt somewhat in this race, but there's nothing that Grevitt can do at the moment to make his way through on Kappa, and that's going to be really quite disrupting. Kappa doing a good job though, was qualified in 4th, getting himself into the top 2 in the opening corners. I'm sure it's going to prove to be absolutely critical and the Italian doing a good job as it stands. Christian Diaz O'Mill looking for a couple of moves as we see him try and fight with David Zoes inside line for the Osmos Wear Esports car. Is he going to get this one done? I think just about, maybe enough of an overlap to cover it off. Yes, indeed he does. And he will get himself, promote himself to the top 12. Teammate of Michelin just up in front. See if those two can work together. Caraveo in the mixed wheels car looking for the inside at the final turn as well. Little bit of contact, not going to spin around the car in front. Lucky to avoid that, really. Could have ended badly. They run their way through towards turn number 1. Once again, Caraveo on the inside should get this one done. Ahead of David Zoes, who was slipping back in the order a little bit. What he needs in this race, as wide goes Diaz O'Mill, and the forward progress that he was making undone in just a moment. An instant that he's not going to want to remember fondly, and he won't remember fondly. He's not going to want to remember it at all. This is a bit of chaos though down here towards the back of the field. Jordan Osborne leading a cacophony of cars. Barthez, Trebek, Hart and Yaroslav Fides in here. They were going to make it through turn 3 safely, just about in a single file out as they make their way in towards the right hand. Barthez holding on from Simon Trebek, looking to come back through the field. I think he's one of the drivers that would back himself to get a little bit higher up than the P20 he currently occupies, or the P21 even. Oh, a little bit of contact, big slide. Somehow, all four of them are going to stay in a straight line, or are they? Oh, big contact into turn 5 behind Simon Trebek. That's going to be Hart and Fides going at it. Barthez drops further down the field, started inside the top 12, now outside the top 22. What he needed at all. Mind you, Schrar started in last. He's up to P16 and maybe on the verge of points in this race. 15 minutes to go as well to find his way through. Rabbit keeping a very close eye though on our P2 man Alessandro Cappa, showing what he can do. I mean, Chris calls himself slow and steady, but it somewhat underestimates him. Very fast driver on his day. Held the lap record for last week in the 992s at Sebring. The T6 Motorsport holds the lap record coming into this race tonight as well. Defending that inside line. He's trying all that he can, as the inside is then going to be taken away from him through the little kink. But I think for some it's officially turn 2, but not really. Kappa going to lose out in the end to Grevitt. What can Grevitt do now to work his way up through the order? As time starts to tick towards halfway in this race. Good for Grevitt to get through though, because difficult to really pick moves away as you work your way through the order. He lost the position on the opening lap to Kappa. He got through on Callum Wilson with his struggles a little while back, and it became a bit of a two-horse race for quite some time, 5 laps or so. Oh, big contact! Basti Schrar, I should say, inside the top 18. He was up to 16th momentarily before, wasn't he? But he's not. Oh, he's lost that to Jordan Osborne, who's looking to come through. Clough and Diaz O'Mill not too far in front either. Really dramatic moments there. Rear end goes for Basti. He's going to come into contact to the car in front. How some of these drivers aren't actually taking themselves out of the race is beyond me. There's so much contact, and a couple of our drivers, but difficult moments for them all the same. I think we are back. Indeed we are. And back then, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the couple of little technical difficulties. Some of these things can't be avoided sometimes. We love technology when it works for us, and obviously we don't when it doesn't. It's dried up a little bit here at the Hungaroring in the last 10 minutes or so, and we have seen a little bit of a change in the conditions as the wets have become dry, and the drivers that were on the wet tyres are struggling just that little bit more than they were. In towards the final corner we're going to run though with some of the drivers towards the front of the field. Alan Axel it is, who's right behind Michael Clough, a driver who is on that wet compound of tyre, and you can see that it's benefiting him at the moment, trying to get through on Messina as we go up towards the final, the first corner on the racetrack. 4 minutes to go, and with Vlad Tokarev enough of the way around the lap, it means we are going to get another... we're going to get another 2 laps after this one, so we're going to get a 13th lap. Michael Clough is going to get a couple of chances to get himself up towards Callum Wilson, and he really has progressed towards the latter stages of this race. That wet tyre really working well underneath of him. Who else has got that tyre on? Simon Trebek and Jordan Osborne in the front group are the other drivers who have that tyre on. So keep an eye on the cars currently in 11th and 13th to see if they can work their way up the order. I think Caraveo's in the middle of making a move actually on Jordan Osborne. It's Osborne on the tyre, so he's whilst I'm looking at that, he's made a move. So Trebek and Osborne 11th and 12th, can they get themselves anyway further up the order? Clough really on a charge now. Callum Wilson is going to be his next victim. The question is, how quickly can Clough catch the likes of Luke Mitchell, possibly for a top 5 here? Remains to be seen what the reverse grid is going to be, however. Anything from the top 6 to the top 12 reverse. I think Jordan Osborne's going to be hoping that a little bit more on the 12 end. Simon Trebek's through on Koenig. Jordan Osborne through on Koenig as well. The two on the wets doing a great job at the moment, and Koenig nearly hitting the back of them as they run their way in towards turn number 10. See how much more he's struggling compared to the two on that nicely treaded compound of tyre. Can these guys get another position or two right towards the end of this opening race to possibly put themselves into a reverse grid? That's going to be a real question here, with 2 minutes left to run. There will be this lap and one more. White flag not quite flying here in Hungary. We've got a little bit of time before we find out who is going to be the opening race winner of the evening, but I think you'd be hard pressed to say it's not going to be Vlad Tokarev for this 13-second advantage. Simon Trebek looking for a couple of moves as well, of course. Gained a second through that final sector on Messina. You can see now in towards turn 1, gaining 10th after 10th just through the braking zone, and now through the traction zone as well. It is outrageous how much quicker those wet tyres are right now. Underneath Trebek and Osborne. The gamble clearly paying off, both up 4 positions in this race, and they're about to be up 5 when they make their way through on Messina. It's not going to be a very long time before they do. Better exit from Simon Trebek. Does he have a go at turn 4 at Mansell? I don't think he does. Tricky to really pin it through that. Will he have a go at turn 5? Can get a much better run through the corner. May have an outside line. Diving back to the inside. That's not going to work out for him. Lucky to avoid contact, actually, as they run their way into the corner. Inside line, they will favour the Limited Esports driver. Can he get there? Can he get the move? No, not quite. And he's got to be careful and wary of Jordan Osborne behind, because he's going to be looking to make a move if Trebek is unable to. Inside line for Trebek, not able to work out. Outside line now for Jordan Osborne, maybe to the inside at turn number 9. That's not going to work out. This is frantic action as they run their way in towards turns 10 and 11. It's just scrabbling to get past each other, and the car in front into the grass goes. That's Jordan Osborne. He's off the road. He's back on the road. He's got a better line as well. 1 and 2 dispatched. Just up the road now as well is going to be Callum Wilson, who's dropping down the field. Alan Axel looking to make his way through. Wilson's had a difficult race after starting out so well. But this is chaos as we about to make our way on towards the final lap. Checker flag not yet flying. White flag is now out, as Trebek comes back down the inside of Osborne. Osborne losing out the spots as Callum Wilson plummets down the order. He's tumbling outside of the top 10, and it's looking pretty difficult for him towards the end of this race. It will be a reverse top 12 in this race, which means that Caraveo may just about get himself in there, or maybe Koenig. He's overtaken right towards the end of this race. Mitchell fighting alongside of Osborne with Trebek. Axon just up in front as well. The final lap is what we're on, and Osborne's looking for a little inside line here on his teammate Simon Trebek, and Axon, another one of the teammates, is just up the road. He's off the road. He's letting pass, quite frankly, Jordan Osborne and Simon Trebek, whether he intends to or not. Osborne up to 6, Trebek up to 7. What an ending to the race for those two. Great to see them work their way through the field. Strategy really paying off for them. And as they get towards the line, I'm sure they're going to be delighted to get themselves inside the top 6, albeit they will start, well, at this rate, Trebek 6th and Osborne 7th, so won't be much change from the positions that they currently behold. Messina looking for a move now on Luke Mitchell as well. Mitchell goes wide off the road. Carlo, well, he's in the mixed wheels car, but he's not mixing up his lines. Fantastically done up through turn 5. He's up inside the top 9. Koenig still ahead of Michelon. No, he's not. Michelon's just got ahead of Koenig in that battle. Caraveo is in here as well. This is crazy battling towards the rear end of that reverse grid. Michelon knows he needs to get past both of these guys if he wants to be on reverse grid pole. He's either going to be on reverse grid pole or he's going to be a little bit further down. I've just seen that Rich thinks that it's the other way around. He thinks that this is his blue tyre on my screen, are actually on slicks. He's probably right, actually. We're going to see Kappa coming to the final couple of corners. Meanwhile, Vlad Tokarev, I think has already crossed the line in a fantastic result for him. Indeed he has. He's going to win the race here. Chris Grevitt, P2. Michael Clough is going to be on the podium ahead of Alessandro Kappa, but who's going to get P4? Osborne, no, it's going to be Alessandro Kappa. P5 is going to go to Osborne, or could it go to Herlock, or really even Trebek? These two on a real charge on the final lap. They must be on the slick tyre as they run their way through the final corner. P5 for Jordan Osborne. He started P15. Great result for him. Simon Trebek and Daniel Herlock 6th and 7th ahead of Axon, Messina and Wilson in the top 12. Mitchell and Caraveo will round out the reverse grid. I think Rich is probably right. I think those guys are probably on the slicks. They stuck it out when it was raining. A bit weird though if that the wet solicitor is red and the dry solicitor is blue. That is what may have confused me. There's a red flag waving. Oh, that's just them waving all the flags. Got a little bit concerned there. Through the final corner, we'll see Zerves and Fides, 17th and 18th. They're fighting over Dark Sim Racing just ahead of the Toyota in the end as they tow back to pit lane. Fraser Hart, 19th. No points for him. We'll start there for race number 2. And then we wait to see the final few drivers come across the line. I think the last driver will be Pipoloni. And he's just about to come around to Lacey at turn 11 now. Really dramatic opening race though. Apologies again for the slight technical issue that we had, but we got the important bits towards the end of that race firmly live, and really was an exciting way to round out the opening race of this evening. We've got another 25 minutes coming your way in just a few minutes time as we wait to see Pipoloni come around the final corner in P24. Apparently he's Argentina's #1 in race room rankings. It's a shame he wasn't in T6 a little bit earlier because we were on race room formerly. He's done a little bit of good, but on rFactor 2, struggling a touch in the opening race, and we'll cross the line P24. Here's the results there for race 1. Tokarev ahead of Grevitt, who will, I believe, take the lead in the championship after that. He was just ahead of Michael Clough, who was ahead of Kappa and Osborne. Kappa is going to be P2 in the championship as well, mind you. Simon Trebek and Daniel Herlock 6th and 7th ahead of Alan Axel, Carlo Messina and Callum Wilson, the top 10 in the end. Luke Mitchell and Francesco Caraveo are going to be in the reverse grid. Caraveo is going to be starting a pole position alongside championship leader coming into this race, Luke Mitchell. Fabienne Michelon and Riley Koenig along with Willem Vesterhoff picked up points inside the top 15. Sadly for Bruno Reyno, David Zerwes, Jaroslav Fides, Fraser Hart and Christian Diaz-Emil. They finished but outside the points. Same can be said for Basti Schrar, Roman Barthez, Radu Halal and Emmanuel Pipoloni. Nick Lowe was a lap down, and sadly for Anton Tominga, he was out of the race pretty early on, all the way down in P26. Race 2 is going to be coming up in a little while, and after that opening race, top 12 being reversed as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing who's going to pick the what tyres for changeable conditions once again. Stick around, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back on the other side. Welcome back then, everybody, here to the Hungaroring for the second 25-minute instalment of what should hopefully be, by the end of it, a fantastic evening's worth of racing and what should hopefully be an incredible championship all the way to the end of the season throughout all of our rounds, dotted across the world as we wind our way towards our conclusion. Race 2 is about to get underway. Drivers getting on themselves onto the formation lap now. Gives us a chance to have a look at the grid as we get in towards this second race, 25-minute race of the evening, starting with the front row. Francesco Caraveo finished P12 in race 1. Will start from the front, finish P12. We'll start on P1 for race 2. Luke Mitchell, Callum Wilson and Carlo Messina will be alongside him on the opening couple of rows. Alan Axon finished in P7. Will start P5, or P8 I should say, and start P5. And then Herlock finished in P7. Will start P6. The theme continues with Simon Trebek and Jordan Osborne, the Unlimited Esports drivers on row number 4, with Alessandro Capia and podium sitter from race 1 Michael Clough making up row number 5. Chris Grevitt finished a P2 in the opening 25-minute encounter. Vlad Tokarev ran away with it at the front, and he will have to start P12 and work his way through from the mid-pack. Fabien Michelon and Wiley Koenig 13th and 14th ahead of Willem Westerhoff and Bruno Reyno on rows 7 and rows 8. David Zervez and Yaroslav Fides break up row 9 in 17th and 18th, with Fraser Hart and Christian Diaz-Emil, the 13 and the 96, on the 10th row. We continue on with Basti Schra and Roman Barthez inside our top 22, with Reda Uhalal and Emmanuel Biboloni. Difficult races for them. They're going to have to start on row number 12. The final row of the grid, Nick Lowe, who was a lap down in the end just a few minutes ago, and Anton Tomenko, who didn't get very far off the line, will start P25 and in P26. So a lot, it's fair to say quite a lot that is up for grabs in this second race. A lot of points were lost by some of the drivers that had a good opening round. Luke Mitchell, of course, finishing a little bit further down the order. Daniel Herlock as well, not in the top 5 like he would like to be, along with Callum Wilson. So for Alessandro Capper and Chris Grevitt, really good starts to the evening for them. Chris Grevitt will lead the championship ahead of Alessandro Capper as we make our way towards race number 2. Luke Mitchell's not going to be a million miles behind those two, and he will start from the front row of the grid, so let's see what he can do, but it's all up in the air. 25 minutes left of racing left to run though here. More than enough of a chance for some good racing action. They'll come up towards the line there and get themselves into position, and then we can maybe start to get ourselves into this race. Now, my timing page has blue tyres and green tyres, so I think that means that everybody's on the slicks, and they could be some intermediates. I don't really know. I'll have to double check that one with Mr. Rich. But we're going to go racing. 5 red lights, 25 minutes on the clock here at the Hungaroring. And for Fabio Caravallo, it's lights out for him from the front of the field. Can he stay there for long though? Because Callum Wilson's had an absolutely amazing launch off of the line. He's already passed Luke Mitchell. He's going to get past Caravallo as well in towards the opening turn. And after a horrific opening race, he is back towards the front of the field. Contact in the back though. Temenga, Biboloni and Reda Uhalal are all off of the road. Right at the back of the field, awful starts for them. There was big contact between Temenga and Biboloni on their road. Callum Wilson with the important launch, so we're ahead of Caravallo and Luke Mitchell. Herlock is up another couple of positions off the line as well. He's had some really good starts. He gained 5 in the opening couple of corners on race 1, gaining another couple in the opening couple of corners on race 2, setting him up well for good races today. Kappa fighting away with Trebek and Clough and Grevitt, as well as those lime green cars scrapped with those forest green cars as they work their way in towards turn number 4 at Mansell. Tokarev up 1 place from the start. Of course, he started right in P12 after the top 12 were all reversed. Jordan Osborne slipping down a little bit in these opening stages. The first minute is already gone and we're not even halfway around the lap, but drama at the front as Wilson may look to try and scarper away in the lead. He's going to have a little bit of pressure from the likes of Luke Mitchell though. Even though Mitchell dropped a position off of the line, he's likely looking like he's going to gain one here at turn 11. Inside line for him. Can he make sure he gets it towards Lacey? Yes, he can. Good move from Luke Mitchell, just about keeping himself in front. Got to be careful though, because here comes Herlock. Inside line for Daniel. Comes into this race P2 in the championship. Luke Mitchell came into this race P1 in the championship, and they're going to tussle it out for P3 as they work their way through turn number 12. Inside line for Herlock is going to sink in very nicely, and the contact means that Mitchell's going to drift a little bit wider. The number 1, of course, for the champion after last season, having to settle for P4 P3 I should say, I'll correct myself, as they run their way through the final turn. Clough having to try and scrap away with Grevitt, his teammate, with Trebek in front as well. Quite a few unlimited esports drivers in this little train of cars. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 of them as they run across the line. Very distinctive livery, isn't it? Very easy to spot on the circuit, come rain or shine. Trebek to the inside line. In fact, it's Trebek to the outside line, actually, through the opening corner. It is Chris Grevitt on the inside. P11 to the 8 is what he has done so far. Kappa will be his next target, as it was in the early stages of the race, in race number 1. After Kappa had a good start, got ahead of Grevitt, but in the end had to rescind that position. It will continue onwards though, throughout this second lap. We're likely to have another 13-minute race here. 13-minute race, my apologies guys, 13-lap race, of course it's a 25-minute race. 13 laps in the 25 minutes. I can get my words around the right way. Fabian Michelon can't get the car around the right way at the moment. He's off the road, he's turning back to pit lane, that's not what he needs at all. Bibaloni and Temenga as well. Hands on Temenga having an absolutely torrid night of it. He is also in the pit lane. Raider Halal struggling off the back as well. But at the front of the field, Callum Wilson scarpering away. It's actually 2.5 is that gap. Herlock and Mitchell 2nd and 3rd. Caraveo and Messina just ahead of Axon in the top 6 with Kappa, Grevitt, Trebek and Clough inside our top 10. Goodness me. It's getting as flustered as some of these drivers are on the circuit. Dry for the time being, but we saw the weather at the start of the race. It is going to rain. And that's going to be quite a slippery part of the race. It'll slip and slide. You know, normally they're fun, but I don't think it's going to be like that in this one. It is only going to be light rain, so it's not going to be too affecting for the drivers. We had heavy rain in race 1, and the heavy rain came a little bit earlier than it will in race number 2. And that's why I think we've seen pretty much everybody go to that slick tyre. If not everybody going to the slick tyre. Luke Mitchell setting the fastest lap last time around. Good lap for him as Tokarev looks for an outside line on Clough. Not going to work out there. Is he going to be able to try and correct it down in towards turn 2? Inside line for the Russian driver. He's the championship leader. Well, he's not the championship leader, actually. That's a complete lie. He's the race winner from race number 1 and getting himself closer to that championship lead with his performances so far this evening. Wide at turn 3 isn't going to help him. He's going to lose out that position to Clough. A little bit of a flashing of the lights as well as they run up towards Mansell at turn 4. Inside line though, actually, he's going to find the right line. Oh, a bit of a rear slide. Should see him still stay side by side. He's lucky not to lose the position. And another one to the car behind, the 42 of that's Jordan Osborne. But he's still fighting it in there, the Russian. Can he go all the way around the outside at the chicane? He'd be a very brave man to do so. Get up very early in the morning as well. Not quite able to find that right line. And Jordan Osborne is not going to be able to do anything from 12th, but trying everything he can to work his way through. Still a fair amount of time left in this race for these moves to be made. 20 minutes it is. I think Tokarev wouldn't mind getting these moves done sooner rather than later. Doesn't want to be leaving it on the long finger to be making some of these overtakes, because he knows that if he wants to get towards the front once again, he's got to dispatch some of these guys quicker than he currently is. A long way to go in this race though. Fraser Hart knows that, but he would like another position or two. This time he's going to try and get through on Willem Westerhoff. Not going to happen into the final corner. May get a good exit though. A little bit of a later apex, allowing him to rotate the car, open the car up a little bit earlier too. And is he going to be able to have a go inside outside line? Which way is he going to be able to choose? Hart to the inside and his number 13 Ford. Is he able to get it stopped though in time? He's not going to go for it in the end. He's got to be wary of cars in behind, Schrar and Koenig, who are very much keen to make a move themselves. Could be a really, really intriguing battle throughout this race for the minor points-paying positions. A couple of points is going to be important for a lot of these guys, though. They can't really afford to give up on, you know, a points tally, which could be crucial towards the end of the season. You never really know how the other races are going to pan out, and you have to be able to pick up the points now, in the here and now. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself too far behind, too early on, and even if you are a little bit further behind, those extra couple of points you could pick up in a race like this, even if it's not your day, send you a long way towards a much better position in the championship for your aspirations. Around turns 10 and 11 they go though. 18 minutes in the session. As Fraser Hart still harassing Willem Westerhoff in towards John and Lacey. Inside line, oh, that's going to be a very brave move. He's not quite able to make it work. Is the rain starting to fall? I believe it is. As window wipers are starting to be used, which would suggest, almost as if we could see some ponchos go up in the crowd, that the rain has started to taint the surface of the racetrack. And this race is about to become a lot more interesting, quite frankly. A lot more dramatic and a lot more difficult to keep the car on the road. Luke Mitchell looking for P2 ahead of Daniel Hurlock. These two, the biggest point scorers last time out, a couple of weeks ago at Monza. Going their way, well, not going that way for them so far this evening. But if they can almost settle this battle and go after Callum Wilson, there's every chance that they are able to work their way up towards the top of the championship once again. In the live standings, of course, they are not quite at the top of the championship. That goes to Chris Grevitt and Alessandro Cappa. Michael Clough fighting with Tokarev's going to have to let through the Russian, who is now promoted inside the top 10. He needs up to go up. Ooh, excuse me. That came in quickly. Can he get after the likes of Trebek and Grevitt, who are currently a little bit higher up the order? You can very much see the rain on the camera lens now. Is Fraser Hart just out of the points, is behind Schra. It's not been an evening so far for Fraser Hart. He's been struggling somewhat, doing everything he can to get himself back into the points. He's becoming a Brabham Motorsport sim driver. I mean, he's the first winner of the Falsetti sim racing competition. He really has some pedigree behind him and has the support from Brabham as well. It really is a fantastic accolade to have behind you. At the Brabham Motorsport rFactor 2 program, and he drives to Brabham in VEC. I saw him at the weekend, actually, on Saturday. It is the weekend, isn't it? Goodness me. I need to do a check on myself, I think. Yesterday it was in the VEC at Sebring that we saw Callum Cripps along with the rest of the Brabham Motorsports team. Johan Kerjol as well, I think, was part of that team, and I believe he was here last week at Sebring, incidentally, in the Porsche 992 GT3 Championship. It's great to have so many of the Brabham drivers here. Really finding that the racing is very much worth their while. Alessandro Cappa, second in the championship into this race 4 of the season. Inside line, can he make this work? Make this move work on Alan Axon? I think he's just about going to be able to do it. As he gets himself in front, the overlap isn't quite there for Alan, as he's not going to be able to dive to the inside, and Cappa in 25 will maintain the inside line, maintain P6. Axon having to be careful of his teammate Trebek, who's going to walk around the outside, giving him an inside line for turn 3 if he can defy the overlap, and he can't quite do it. And I keep referencing the overlap, but it's so critical to have even a nose alongside, because it enables you to have a bit of a right to an inside line or an outside line. If not, the driver in front can just cover off what you're trying to do, and there's not really any hope at all for you to make that move. Tokarev trying to go around the outside. Turn number 5, that's not going to work out, as we've passed 10 minutes in this race. This time next lap will be at half distance, showing how quickly some of these races can disappear for us. Inside line for Tokarev at turn number 8. Is this one going to work out? It's going to be the outside for 9. I don't think this is going to be the right run for Vlad, and you can see this time it's not going to be beneficial for him unless he can stick it around the outside, which he is going to do at turn 10. Oh, the inside line of Lacey will work, but the 81 is around anyway, and Simon Trebek, I think all on his own, is off the road. Disaster for him. Michael Clough comes through as well, and Oswald gets promoted, but disaster, real disaster for Trebek. He's in the pit. Luke Mitchell is going to be trying his best to get up to B2 still. They've both caught Callum Wilson, these two. They've put their differences aside for the time being, and now they're looking for the race lead. 13 minutes and 40 seconds to go. We're lapping at about the 1 minute 50 mark right now, which means 5 laps is going to take us about 9 minutes 10. Which would give us, what's that, about... If we had 13.45, that would give us 4 minutes 35. Which would give us another 3 laps to go. There's the maths, ladies and gentlemen. If I had someone alongside me, I could do it in my head. But hey, When you're on your own, you've got to do all your maths out loud to make sure you get it right. And if I'm wrong, then there's no hope for me whatsoever. 8 laps to go here at the Hungaroring, I do believe. More than enough time for these moves to materialise. More than enough time for these drivers to struggle in the wet conditions. I think that's really what caught out Simon Trebek. The rain getting onto the surface. The rear end not really enjoying it. And heavily affecting him. To the point that he is realistically and meaningfully out of this race. Which is not what he needed at all. Fraser Hart right up behind Willem Westerhoff now. He's been in and out of the points. He's in them now. P14 is where he'd like to progress from. It's been a decent start to race 2, all things considered. Up 5 places on where he started. He's looking to go a little bit further forward. Tokarev's been up 3, but he's got 4 and 5 possibly in front of him, maybe even 6. If he can try and negotiate his way through on Axon, Grevin and Caraveo. He may have an inside line at turn 11, or turn 12 I should say. As Grevit looks for the move. He's going to get the inside line, actually. And Caraveo, I should say, is going to lose out there. Kappa a little bit further up the road. But Caraveo is down in towards P7. Tokarov with a much better line than Axon. Through turn 13 is going to get him P8. And it's going to get him P7 as well. Maybe not, though, as they're going to fight side by side into the final turn. Vlad Tokarov, the Russian, around the outside. Can he just stick it in there enough to get the run out of the final turn, to get the chances down into turn 1? I think it's a good enough run from Caraveo to keep himself very much competitive. Alan Axon is in here as well. And Axon just trying to find the right line to maybe pick off both of them as they come to blows just up in front. Rain still pounding the racetrack here. 7 laps to go. Oh, a bit of a difficult line from Caraveo. He's going to check up both drivers behind. They hit into each other, front end to rear end. No damage, well, no real damage done, no meaningful damage done to anybody. No one having to go back to pit lane. Maybe just a little bit of front end cosmetic damage is going to affect them. Because there's more battling. Hart, Zervez, Schrar as well. So much going on back here. And so much to keep on top of. David Zervez isn't keeping on top of the racetrack though. Goodbye, David. He's off the road. He rejoins safely just about. He's going to lose out to Schrar, who himself had a difficult line through the corner. Tokarev looking for P7 of Caraveo, and I don't know whether I'm going to be able to catch my breath because this has been an absolutely frantic minute or two in this race. 10 minutes 40 still to run here. Lots of time for this race to wind its way to a conclusion, but some of these drivers want it to. Tokarev is on a great little run of form right now. Erlock's got the lead, by the way. Mitchell's in P2. Callum Wilson's dropped down to P3. Everything kicking off. This has really been a fantastic 5-6 minutes in this race. Right then. Very much an interesting point in this race. The rain, I think, still falling on the circuit, but the light rain not really affecting the cars too much. The drivers who are not on the same tyre as everybody else at the moment are Schrar, Zervez, Diaz Anil, and Rada Uhalal. Riley Koenig, I think, is on some wet, but he's a long way off the back of the field. It's not really going to make too much of a difference for him. Wet's maybe working a little bit better, but I mean, he's down in P22 and it may dry up once again. We saw it dry up in race number 1, and that was with some heavier rain in the race. Although with 9 minutes to go, it is still falling. There are 6 laps to go, and I'm confident in saying that now. Turn 1 still leads this race out of Mitchell and Wilson, who may start to fall into the clutches of Alessandro Kappa and Chris Grevett. Asina and Tokarev involved as well. This has been a frantic opening, opening 2/3 to this race. Yellow flag out somewhere. Going to be completely honest, I couldn't tell. Oh, I could tell you for who. That, oh, actually, could I? I don't think I can. Someone. Could be Diaz Emil, actually, into the pit lane. That would make a lot of sense. In off the road, coming down pit lane. Not what he needs at all. There's Vlad Tokarev up in P6, still trying to make some moves. He's through on Messina, and that's going to be critical for his race. A race win in the opening part of the evening. Can he follow that up with a top 5? Could gain in the most points of anybody tonight. In fact, it absolutely would if things were to finish that way. Kappa with a 4th and 4th at this stage would pick him up some decent championship points, but not quite the 30 that we saw him achieve last time. Mitchell, so much spray now on the circuit, looking maybe for an outside line, maybe just trying to keep himself on the racetrack as they make their way in towards turn number 11 at Lacey. It's such treacherous conditions for these drivers, so tricky to nail the braking points, the turning points, the acceleration points. When you've got changing conditions like this, the track conditions are never the same when you meet them again, or meet the same part of the circuit again. It means that you can never really be sure about what's underneath you and what's the best way to manage the situation. Bruno Renault maybe enjoying a little bit of precipitation, sort of his namesake. He's fighting away with Halal in 19th and 20th, but the real battle is up here towards the front of the field. Well, we're seeing Luke Mitchell and Daniel Hurlock scrap it out for the lead of this race. Neither one in the top 5 in the opening part of the evening. Luke Mitchell finished in 11th. Daniel Hurlock, to his credit, finished in 7th. He still may not be picking up as many points as Vlad Tokarev tonight. It's going to be pleasing to the Russian. Comes into this race, of course, 7th in the championship, 16 points to his name. A little bit further back than I think he'd want to be. He should overtake a couple of drivers. Osborne, along with, well, I was going to say Luke Mitchell and Daniel Hurlock, but everybody's still picking up some decent points tonight. Jordan Osborne should be dispatched by him in terms of the points. Ooh, as Luke Mitchell gets all over the rear end of Daniel Hurlock, not going to be able to find a way through, but he is trying everything that he can here. Chris Grevitt looking for a move on Alessandro Capper. He's going to have to get his skates on, quite frankly, because Vlad Tokarev coming up right behind him. He'll be keen to make a move, the Russian driver, to get himself inside the top 5 once again in this evening's racing. Grevitt, though, looking for a top 4 inside line, not going to work out at turn 11 at Lacey. Where else can he go for the move? Wait and see. These guys fighting over P5 in this race. I've been really interested to see, really, that the pace of these drivers hasn't slowed from the 150.9s that has... Oh, that's his best. Oh, I'm very much mistaken about the best lap times. My bad. I may have to reconsider my maths. In fact, we've got 3 laps left in this race. Last time around, they'll come to the line once again with Daniel Hurlock, as Grevitt's going to look for a line on Kappa, can't quite find it. Last time around, they're about to cross the line. Daniel Hurlock sets a 2 minute 10.6, which is matched by Mitchell, a 2:11.1 for Wilson. It's a 2:8.5 for Vlad Tokarev, really showing what he can do in these conditions. Sadly, he's not quite at the front of the field yet. 3 laps to go here at the Hungaroring. I was looking at their best lap times, but with the weather falling on the circuit, I'm just going to slow things down for these guys. That's to be expected. 20 seconds, though, slower than what they were going during this same race. Just shows how much of a difference it means to be on some wet tyres compared to some slicks. No one lapping under the 2-minute 6s right now. Riley Koenig, that is, in the 2-minute 6s on the wet tyre. He's still a long way off the back of anybody, though. Chris Grevitt under a lot of pressure from Kappa. He's made the move, but can he make it stick inside at line at turn 4? And he's got the move done, but he's gone wide. He may lose that once again. Kappa around the outside. Little bit of contact, quite a bit of contact. How pleasing is this for Tokarev? Probably very pleasing, but he's not able to find a way through the middle. I think he would have backed himself to just to slip in through that little gap. Not able to do so. Chris Grevitt looking for the turn 6, not going to work out either. 2 more trips to this chicane at 6 and 7 to go. But really, chances are running out for these guys to make moves towards the end of this race. They'll work their way through turns 8 to 9, in towards 10, and Lacey at turn 11. Tokarev looking for any kind of move. Grevitt looking for a move. Outside line. Consider that one done for P4. The Unlimited Esports driver, unlimited in his pace at the moment, but there's a little bit of front left to rear right contact, and Grevitt is going to be in a 3-wide moment. Inside line for Victor Tokarev. He looked for the race win in the earlier race. He got it. He's looking for P4 now, not able to do so just yet, but as they overlap each other, all nearly 1, 2, 3, all in a staggered line. Grevitt's just about going to get his nose in front in towards turn 13, exactly what he needs to be doing to get himself in towards the championship lead. by the end of the evening. He's within the championship lead coming into this race after the opening round this evening. He's doing a fantastic job to come back through the field. Started P11 after the P2 in the opening race, and he could be on for, well, maybe not a double podium with only 2 laps to go, but maybe, certainly, a podium and a P4, which would be fantastic for his championship aspirations. He may only be second in tonight's points to Victor Tokarev, who had a bit more of a difficult night in the opening race a couple of weeks ago. Wide O from Grevitt. Tokarev's on the tight inside line. He's picked off 1. Can't quite pick off 2, though. Good line on the exit for Christopher Grevitt. Chris Grevitt. Who's looking to keep himself just ahead. Chris Grevitt says he's slow and steady. I mean, he's not really proving that to be true. He's fighting for everything he's worth at the moment. And you would, wouldn't you, at this stage of the race? A lap and a half to go. Why would you fight in any other way? Vlad Tokarev just trying to find his way inside the top 4. Grevitt trying to hold him off it. Point swing that may seem insignificant now, but if Grevitt can get himself into a position where he only beats Tokarev in the championship by a couple of points, then this position could be critical come the end of the season. Michael Clough trying to go around the outside of Caraveo in towards turn number 5. They went through turn number 4 through Mansell. Turn 6 and 7 is this chicane with Clough on the inside line. Oh no, goes a little bit deep though, and Caraveo, despite having a difficult race, he's down 9 positions after starting on pole. He's going to keep himself inside the top 10 just about for the time being, as these guys continue on their penultimate lap of the race. Luke Mitchell, though, looking for the lead on Herlock. Around the outside, can he find it? Not quite. Herlock going to hold firm. And I don't think Mitchell's going to have a go in towards the final couple of turns either. So with 1 lap to go here at the Hungaroring, it's all up in the air for the front of the field. Slick still just about working. The wet's lapping about a second a lap quicker at the moment, but it's not as quick as they were before. Mitchell through the final corner. 1 more lap of the Hungaroring for us to have tonight. And it's Daniel Herlock. Luke Mitchell fighting for the win as they run towards turn number 1. The reigning champion looking for a race win to really get his championship into groove. He led the championship after the opening 2 rounds a couple of weeks ago. Dropped away a little bit after round 3 earlier this evening. That's because he finished in P11, not really where he wants to be, especially coming into this as the reigning champion. Driver with prestige, with a lot of, well, not support behind him, but with a lot of accolades behind him, that's for sure. T6 Touring champion, GP VWC Formula Sprint 2 champion, a BTCC race winner, and an ERC BTCC race winner. There's a lot of acronyms there. Like I'm reading the alphabet. This isn't quite a primary school class, but Nick Tokarev has put on a bit of a lesson to some of the others today. Great drive in race 1, pulled away from the rest of the field. I think he can cap it off with a podium here, and that is very much within reach. This is the final lap of the race, albeit you can see Callum Wilson, who's just about clinging on to that podium for the time being. And when I say clinging, he really is, by his fingernails holding on here. He has been under pressure all race long. In race 1 particularly, dropping down the order after a good qualifying session, and actually a good start as well. Good start in race 2 got him to the lead, but he's dropped back since then as well. Vlad Tokarev, is it the right line? It's not the right line for Callum Wilson. They're going to fan out across the road. 1 picked off by Tokarev. Is it a second? No, it's not going to be either. Even as they make their way in towards turn 11. Callum Wilson, somewhere with that line, is going to keep himself in the podium spots. Meanwhile, Luke Mitchell looks around the outside into the final couple of corners in the most dramatic race we've seen so far this season. It's going to be Daniel Herlock, though, to come around the final corner. Can he defend in towards the final turn? He goes defensive. He holds the line. He holds the lead. And the number 87 car, what a drive for him. Herlock or Mitchell, the 2 top scorers last week. They're the 2 top scorers in this race tonight, because Herlock is going to win here at the Hungaroring. Luke Mitchell P2 in a hardly fought battle towards the end. Callum Wilson just about going to hold off Grevitt and Tokarev, neither able to make a move in the end, with Alessandro Cappa finishing in P6. What a dramatic race to round out the evening here at the Hungaroring. Messina, Axon, Osborne and Clough will round out our top 10. They'll pick up the big points tonight. Caraveo, sadly for him, started on pole. It's going to be good enough to finish in P11. A handful of points will go his way tonight. In fact, it'll be 9 that is added to his tally without any kind of points deduction that he has to suffer. Fraser Hart picks up a few points as well. He was behind Willem Westerhoff. David Zerves will pick up some points after not doing so in race 1. That'll be the same story for Schrar in P15. Goodness me, what a way to go racing. What a real advert for this series. Some really clean, fantastic tussles between these guys for some big points positions as well. So many of our drivers showing why they are, such good competitors, such good championship contenders. We really have been treated here this evening to an absolutely enthralling encounter between this field of cars. It will be Rhino and Reino, I should say, and Halal, the final 2 cars to cross the line. There goes Bruno. Halal, maybe not feeling as lemony as he was at the start of the race, will finish in P22. That is the end of 25, in the end really 27 minutes of absolutely frantic racing action. Fantastic to watch. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have up here in the commentary box. Really is a fantastic way to round out tonight's racing action. Daniel Hurlock, then your winner, ahead of Luke Mitchell and Callum Wilson. Chris Grevitt and Vlad Tokarev, after their good races in race 1, back it up with top 5s in 4th and 5th. Alessandro Capra and his teammate Carlo Messina 6th and 7th, with 3 more teammates, Alan Axon, Jordan Osborne and Michael Clough rounding out the top 10. Not an error for him in the 404. Good result in the end to finish inside the top 10. Francesco Caraveo and Willem Westerhoff inside the top 12. Decent points for them, 5 and 4 respectively. Fraser Hart, David Zerves and Basti Schrar picking up the final scraps in the order. They get 3, 2 and 1 points respectively. Sadly though, the likes of Riley Koenig, for Jaroslav Vijs, Nick Lowe, Roman Barthez and Christian Diaz-Emil, no points for them despite their finish after 13 laps here. Bruno Reino and Reda Halal, they will also not score, but did finish the race, sadly for Simon Trebek. For Fabian Michelon, for Emmanuel Bibaloni and Anton Temenga as well. DNFs in the second race for Temenga, double DNF. Not what he needed tonight. That's all the racing action we've got for you here from the Hungaroring tonight. Do not forget though, we're going to be back next week and in the Porsche 993 GT3 Challenge. In 2 weeks time though, it'll be quite different surroundings. Long Beach is where we head, and a street circuit which will, probably serve to be a little bit difficult for these drivers. The racing we've seen tonight has been extreme. It's been fantastic to see. We'll see you then on the T6 YouTube channel. We thank you for joining us. We thank our sponsors as well who make these broadcasts possible. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time when the T6 Touring Championship returns in California.